The alarm bells rang through the massive space station like thunder. Council Speaker Zixathara moved her long blue tentacles across the control panel, trying to silence the noise. Her large black eyes looked worried as she stared at the glowing screens around her. "What is happening now?" she asked her assistant, a small gray creature named Piptel. "The sensors are picking up something big, Speaker," Piptel said in his high voice. "Very big. Coming toward our space." Zixathara felt her hearts beating faster. She was from the water world of Nereid, where her people lived peaceful lives in crystal cities under the ocean. Violence was something they only read about in history books. But as the leader of the Galactic Council, she had to deal with all the dangerous things in space. The main meeting room filled with beings from across the galaxy. There was Commander Quendal from the rock people of Granite Prime. His stone-like skin made clicking sounds when he walked. Next to him sat Dr. Velmos, whose plant-like body swayed gently even without wind. The bird people from Skyworld chirped nervously to each other in the corner. "Show us what the sensors found," Zixathara said to the main computer. The giant screen came alive with images from deep space. Hundreds of small dots moved in formation toward their part of the galaxy. The computer counted them automatically. 100 ships, 200, 500. The numbers kept growing. "By the ancient waters," Zixathara whispered. "How many are there?" "Over 3,000 ships detected so far," the computer said in its calm voice. More appearing at the edge of sensor range. The room fell silent. Most council species had maybe 50 or 60 ships in their entire fleets. Even the mighty Andromedans, the strongest warriors in known space, only had about 800 vessels. Commander Quenadal's rocky face showed no emotion, but his voice carried worry. "What species builds fleets this large? We know every major power in the sector." "Maybe they are from another galaxy," suggested Dr. Velmos, her leaf-like hands shaking slightly. The bird people made distressed chirping sounds. Their translator device turned their words into galactic standard. "Unknown fleets mean war. War means death. Death means empty nests." Zixathara raised one tentacle for silence. "Let us not panic yet. Perhaps they come in peace. Many species travel in large groups for safety." But even as she said it, she did not believe her own words. The way these ships moved looked military. They stayed in tight formations and changed direction together like a school of dangerous fish. The meeting room doors opened with a loud bang. General Kethvar of the Andromedans walked in without being invited. He was 8 feet tall and covered in thick purple fur. His forearms each carried a different weapon. His people were born fighters who had conquered 17 star systems in the last century. "I heard about your little problem," Kethvar said with a growl. His teeth were sharp and yellow. "Lucky for you the Andromedans are here." "General, please," Zixathara began, but he cut her off. "No need for your long speeches, Water Dweller," he said rudely. "These unknown ships think they can just fly into our territory? They will learn what happens when you challenge Andromedan. Might." Kethvar slammed one fist on the council table. The sound made several smaller beings jump. "I will take my best fleet and show these strangers who rules this part of space. They will either bow down or be destroyed." Dr. Velmos swayed more quickly, which meant she was nervous. "Perhaps we should try talking to them first. The council has always believed in peaceful solutions." Kethvar laughed, a sound like rocks falling down a mountain. "Peace is for the weak. My people understand only strength. These strangers will respect strength too, or they will die." Commander Quendal's stone fingers tapped on the table. "General, we do not know anything about these beings. What if they are stronger than we think?" "Impossible," Kethvar said. "No one is stronger than the Andromedans. We have never lost a battle. Our ships are the biggest. Our weapons are the most powerful. Our warriors are the fiercest." He pointed at the screen showing the unknown fleet. "These little ships will break like twigs against our might." Zixathara wanted to argue, but she knew it was useless. When Andromedans decided to fight, nothing could stop them. "Very well, General, but please try to capture some of them alive. We need to learn who they are and what they want." "If any survive, I will consider it," Kethvar said. He turned and walked toward the door. Prepare your funeral songs, Council. By tomorrow, this threat will be nothing but space dust. After he left, the room stayed quiet for a long time. Finally, Piptail spoke up in his small voice. Speaker, what if the general is wrong? What if these strangers are dangerous? Zixthara looked at her assistant with sad eyes. Then we will all learn a very hard lesson about the universe. 2 days later, the council gathered again to watch the battle. General Kethvar had taken his finest ships toward the unknown fleet. 50 Andromedan dreadnoughts, each one bigger than a city. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their shields had never been broken. They were the terror of the galaxy. The battle started when the two fleets met near the dead system of Kappa 7. The Andromedans formed their traditional battle line, big ships side by side like a metal wall in space, their weapons charged up, ready to blast the enemy into nothing. But something strange happened. The unknown ships did not form a battle line. Instead, they scattered like leaves in the wind. Small groups of ships flew in different directions, moving faster than anything the Council had ever seen. What are they doing? Commander Quendal asked, confused. The answer came quickly. The small enemy ships attacked from all sides at once. They moved like dancers, spinning and diving between the big Andromedan vessels. Their weapons were not as powerful as Andromedan guns, but they hit weak spots that no one knew existed. One by one, the mighty dreadnoughts began to explode. Their shields, which had protected them for centuries, failed under the strange new attacks. General Kethvar's flagship tried to turn and fight, but the enemy ships moved too fast. They appeared, fired, and vanished before anyone could shoot back. The battle lasted only 3 hours. When it ended, 47 Andromedan ships were gone. Only 3 managed to escape back toward Council space. General Kethvar was not on any of them. The Council members stared at their screens in shock. The Andromedans had never lost a battle. Never. They were the strongest force in the galaxy. But these unknown beings had destroyed them like they were nothing. Impossible, whispered Dr. Velmos. This cannot be real. But it was real. The sensor readings proved it. The wreckage floating in space proved it. The 3 surviving Andromedan ships running home in fear proved it. Then something happened that made everything even more frightening. The Council's communication system activated by itself. A voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, calm and friendly like someone ordering dinner. Hello there. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran Defense Fleet. Sorry about the misunderstanding with your purple friends. They attacked us first, so we had to defend ourselves. We are humans from the planet Earth. We would like to talk with your leaders about peaceful relations. Please let us know when and where would be convenient for a meeting. We look forward to hearing from you soon. The message ended. The Council sat in complete silence. Finally, Zixthara found her voice. By all the depths of the ocean, she whispered. Who are these humans? Council Speaker Zixthara had not slept in 3 days. Her blue tentacles moved nervously across her desk as she read report after report. The surviving Andromedan ships had finally made it back to Council space, and their stories made no sense. The enemy ships moved like living things, Captain Vorthak had said. His purple fur was white with shock. They danced around our weapons. Our targeting systems could not lock onto them. It was like fighting ghosts. Another survivor, Commander Rextal, had been even more disturbed. They knew exactly where to hit us, our weak points that even we did not know existed. How is this possible? But the most frightening report came from the last ship. They could have destroyed us all, the captain had whispered. But they stopped. They let us go. They wanted us to bring a message back. Now Zixthara sat in the emergency council meeting, surrounded by the leaders of 40 different species. Everyone was scared. If the mighty Andromedans could be defeated so easily, what hope did anyone else have? We must respond to their message, said Ambassador Velthari of the Epsilon Ceti. She was tall and thin, with silver skin that sparkled under the lights. Her people were known as the greatest diplomats in the galaxy. They said they want to talk. Perhaps we can find a peaceful solution. Commander Quendal's rocky face was grim. Or perhaps it is a trap. Destroy our strongest fleet, then pretend to want peace. Classic military strategy. Dr. Plixandra, the chief scientist of the council, adjusted her many eyes to focus on the group. She was an insect-like being from the hive world of Zeta Prime. We need more information about these humans. I suggest we agree to meet them, but in a controlled environment where we can study them. Study them? Squeaked Piptail. What if they study us back? Zixthara raised a tentacle for silence. Ambassador Velthari is right. We must try diplomacy first. But we will be careful, very careful. 3 days later, the Council's diplomatic station moved to the neutral zone between territories. It was a small space station designed for peaceful meetings. The walls were white and clean. The meeting room had soft lighting and comfortable seats for many different body types. Ambassador Velthari prepared for the meeting with her usual care. She wore her finest diplomatic robes, silver and blue like starlight. Commander Quendall stood nearby in full military dress, his stone armor polished until it shined. Dr. Plixandra checked her scanning equipment one more time. Remember, Velthari said to her team, these beings destroyed the Andromedan fleet, but they chose to let survivors escape. They want to talk. This suggests intelligence and possibly mercy, or they want to play with their food before eating it. Quendall muttered. The human ship appeared exactly on time. It was smaller than expected, about the size of a council transport vessel. Its design was strange, with sharp angles and no decoration. It looked like it was built for function, not beauty. The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss. Ambassador Velthari stepped forward with her best diplomatic smile. Welcome to our station. I am Ambassador Velthari of the Galactic Council. We are honored to meet you. Then the humans walked out of their ship, and everything changed. The first one was tall for his species, maybe 6 feet. His skin was tan like desert sand, and his hair was dark brown. But it was his eyes that made Velthari's breath catch. They were small and set in the front of his head like a predator. They moved constantly, looking at everything, missing nothing. Captain Jake Morrison, Terran Defense Fleet, he said with a smile that showed white teeth. His voice was calm and friendly, but there was something underneath it, something dangerous. Behind him came a female with yellow hair tied back in a tight knot. Her clothes looked like a military uniform, and her hand rested near a weapon on her belt. Her eyes were the same predator type, pale blue and always watching. Lieutenant Sarah Walsh, she said simply. The third human was different. He looked softer, with dark skin and kind eyes, behind glass lenses. He carried a small device in his hands and seemed more interested in the station than in the people. Dr. Kevin Brooks, our science officer, Captain Morrison said. Hope you do not mind if he takes some notes. We like to learn about new places. Velthari tried to keep her diplomatic calm, but something about these beings made her nervous. They moved wrong, too smooth, too quiet, like hunters stalking prey. Of course, she said. Please follow me to the meeting room. We have prepared refreshments from many worlds. As they walked through the station corridors, Dr. Brooks asked innocent questions. Interesting architecture. How many species helped design this place? What kind of artificial gravity system do you use? Those wall materials look very advanced. Local manufacturing? Each question seemed harmless, but Velthari noticed he was learning about their technology, their capabilities, their weaknesses. In the meeting room, the formal talks began. Velthari explained the council's structure, how they govern this part of the galaxy, and the rules for new species joining galactic society. The council has maintained peace for over 2,000 years, she said proudly. We believe all conflicts can be solved through discussion and compromise. Captain Morrison listened politely, nodding at the right moments. Lieutenant Walsh stood behind him, never sitting down, her eyes constantly scanning the room. Dr. Brooks continued taking notes on his device. This is all very interesting, Morrison said when she finished. But I think there might be some confusion about why we are here. Oh? Velthari asked. You see, we are not looking to join your council. Morrison explained calmly. We are expanding human territory. Your records show this region has several uninhabited systems that would be perfect For human colonies. Commander Quendall's stone fingers scraped against the table. Those systems are under Council protection. No one can claim them without permission. Morrison's smile never changed. Permission from who? From the Council, of course. We govern this space. Based on what? Dr. Brooks asked, looking up from his notes. Military strength? The Andromedans were your enforcement arm, right? How did that work out? The room fell silent. Velthari felt her diplomatic training crumbling. The Council maintains order through law and agreement, not force. That is nice, Morrison said. But what happens when someone disagrees with your laws? Before anyone could answer, Dr. Plixandra's scanning equipment began beeping rapidly. She looked at the readings and her many eyes went wide with shock. Impossible, she whispered. What is it? Velthari asked. The biological scans, Plixandra said, her voice shaking. These readings cannot be correct. Dr. Brooks looked interested. What do your instruments tell you about us? Plixandra's hands shook as she read from her device. Bone density 3 times galactic average. Muscle fiber density off our measurement scale. Reaction times faster than any known species. And their homeworld. She stopped, staring at the screen. What about our homeworld? Lieutenant Walsh asked quietly. It registers as a Class 12 Deathworld, Plixandra whispered. That classification does not exist in our databases. We only go up to Class 9. The Council members looked at each other in horror. A Class 9 Deathworld was considered impossible for intelligent life to survive. The gravity would crush most species. The weather would kill anything that tried to live there. The predators would eat everything else. Class 12, Commander Quendall said slowly. How is that possible? Captain Morrison shrugged like it was no big deal. Earth is a tough neighborhood. Lots of things trying to kill you every day. Makes you adapt or die. Adapt how? Velthari asked, though she was afraid of the answer. Well, everything on Earth is dangerous, Dr. Brooks explained cheerfully. The weather, the animals, the plants, even some of the water. Humans had to become very good at surviving, very good at fighting, very good at killing things that try to kill us. Lieutenant Walsh spoke for the first time since introductions. We are persistence hunters. That means when we decide to hunt something, we never stop. We follow it until it gets tired and dies. We have been doing this for millions of years. But you seem so peaceful, Velthari protested weakly. Morrison laughed, a sound that made everyone in the room nervous. We are peaceful, when we choose to be. But choice is the important word there. He stood up, and every council member tensed. Even standing still, he looked like he was about to attack something. Here is what is going to happen, Morrison said, in the same calm, friendly voice. Humans are going to establish colonies in this region. We will trade with anyone who wants to trade fairly. We will defend ourselves against anyone who attacks us, and we will leave everyone else alone as long as they leave us alone. And if the Council objects? Commander Quendall asked. Morrison's smile became sharper. Then the Council can try to stop us, but remember, the Andromedans tried that already. How did that work out for them? Dr. Brooks closed his note-taking device and looked up with interest. Speaking of which, we studied your military records on the way here. Very educational. Your species seem to fight wars like you are playing games. Rules, formations, honor codes. Very civilized. Civilized warfare is the mark of advanced society, Velthari said automatically. Maybe, Brooks said. But humans do not fight civilized wars. We fight to win, whatever it takes, however long it takes, until the enemy cannot fight back anymore. The alarm sirens screamed through every council station and ship across the galaxy. Council Speaker Zixthara felt her tentacles go cold as she read the emergency message on her screen. The words made her heart stop beating for a moment. Zephyrian. Hive detected. Massive invasion fleet approaching council space. All defensive units report to stations immediately. She had hoped never to see those words again. The Zephyrian hive was every living being's worst nightmare. They were not truly alive, but they were not dead either. They were machines that thought like a single giant mind. They consumed entire star systems, turning planets into metal and energy to build more of themselves. Piptel rushed into her office, his small gray face full of terror. "Speaker, the sensors count over 5 million hive ships heading toward the core worlds. 5 million. Zixthera closed her large black eyes and tried to stay calm. The council had faced the hive twice before in her lifetime. Both times they had been forced to abandon whole systems to save what they could. Billions of beings had died or been turned into metal slaves. "Contact all fleet commanders," she ordered. "Full defensive positions around the core worlds. And send a message to the human ship. We need to tell them about this threat." The main council chamber filled quickly with worried leaders from across the galaxy. Commander Quendal looked grim even for a rock person. Dr. Velmos swayed rapidly, her plant body showing extreme stress. The bird people huddled together, making sad chirping sounds. "The situation is very bad," announced Fleet Admiral Torkson, a proud warrior from the cat-like Leonid race. "The hive is coming with the largest force we have ever seen. Our combined fleets have maybe 8,000 ships total. They have millions." Ambassador Velthari spoke up from her seat. "Perhaps we should evacuate the core worlds now, before they arrive. Save as many lives as possible." "No," growled Admiral Torkson. "The Leonids do not run from battle. We will fight and die with honor." "Honor does not help dead people," muttered Commander Quendal. Dr. Plixandra checked her instruments nervously. "The hive will reach the outer defense line in 6 days. After that, 3 more days to the core worlds. We have very little time." That was when the conference room doors opened. Captain Morrison walked in without being announced, followed by Lieutenant Walsh and Dr. Brooks. They looked calm, as if giant robot armies did not worry them at all. "Sorry to interrupt," Morrison said with his usual smile, "but we picked up your emergency broadcasts. Sounds like you have a problem." Zixthera felt embarrassed. "Captain Morrison, I apologize. We meant to inform you properly. A very dangerous enemy called the Zephyrian Hive is attacking our space. You should probably leave the area for your own safety." Dr. Brooks was already connecting his device to the Council's computer system. His fingers moved incredibly fast across the screen. "Zephyrian Hive. Interesting name. Mind if we take a look at your files on them?" "Those files are classified military information," Admiral Torkson growled. Lieutenant Walsh looked at the cat-like admiral with cold blue eyes. "You have 5 million enemy ships coming to kill everyone in this sector. Maybe this is not the time to worry about keeping secrets." Morrison nodded to Dr. Brooks, who kept working on his device. Somehow, he had already broken into the Council's most secure databases. Information about the hive scrolled across his screen faster than anyone could read. "Fascinating," Brooks said after a few minutes. "This hive is essentially one giant computer controlling millions of robot bodies. They learn from each battle and adapt their strategies. Very efficient." "Efficient at killing everyone," Piptel squeaked. "That too," Brooks agreed. "But look at this pattern." He connected his device to the main display screen. Battle records from the last 500 years appeared, showing every hive attack. "They use the same basic strategy every time," Brooks explained. "Massive frontal assault, overwhelming numbers, perfect coordination. They win through brute force and unity." Admiral Torkson's tail lashed angrily. "We know this already. That is why they are unbeatable. No one can match their numbers or coordination." Morrison was studying the tactical displays with great interest. "Kevin, show them the battle formations." More images appeared on the screen. The hive ships always arranged themselves in perfect geometric patterns, spheres within spheres, with the command ships protected in the center. Every ship knew exactly where to go and what to do. "It is beautiful in a way," Dr. Velmos said sadly. "Perfect order." "Perfect predictability," Walsh corrected. She walked up to the display and pointed at different sections. "They never change their formation, ever. Same pattern for 5 centuries of battles." Commander Quendal's stone fingers scratched the table. "What difference does that make? Predictable or not, they still have 5 million ships." Dr. Brooks looked up from his device with excitement in his eyes. "Commander, what happens to a computer if you give it a problem it cannot solve?" It stops working, I suppose. Exactly. And what happens to millions of robot ships if their central command stops working? The council members looked at each other. Zixthara felt a tiny spark of hope in her hearts. Are you saying the Hive has a weakness? Every system has a weakness, Morrison said. The Hive's strength is also its weakness. Perfect unity means if you break the unity, everything falls apart. Walsh was still studying the battle records. Look here. Every Hive fleet has command nodes buried deep in the center, protected by layers and layers of other ships. No one has ever gotten close to them. Because everyone tries to fight them like a traditional battle, Brooks added. Big fleets versus big fleets. The Hive wins because they have more big ships. Admiral. Torkson's ears flattened against his head. How else would you fight them? Morrison's smile became predatory. Not like a traditional battle at all. 3 days later, the human fleet arrived at the Council's defense lines. What came out of hyperspace made every Council admiral stare in confusion. The human ships were arranged in small groups scattered across space. There was no main battle line, no command formation, no order that anyone could understand. What kind of military formation is that? Admiral Torkson demanded over the communication system. It is not a formation at all, replied Commander Lisa Torres from her fighter squadron. Her voice sounded amused. We call it organized chaos. The Hive fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 5 million ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect, geometric patterns. They were beautiful and terrifying, like a metal storm covering the entire star system. Each ship was identical to the others, black and angular and deadly. The Hive began their traditional attack pattern. The outer sphere of ships moved forward in perfect unison, preparing to crush the Council's defensive line through sheer numbers. Then something happened that the Hive had never experienced in 500 years of conquest. Human ships attacked from everywhere at once. Small groups of fighters appeared out of asteroid fields where no sane pilot would hide. Larger human vessels used the gravity of planets to slingshot themselves into impossible attack angles. Some ships even flew directly through the middle of Hive formations, shooting in all directions before vanishing again. They are using the debris field as cover, Dr. Plixandra said in amazement as she watched the battle. How do they navigate through all that wreckage without crashing? Humans are very good pilots, Captain Morrison said calmly from his command ship. We have to be. Everything on our homeworld tries to kill us, including the weather. Theopar tried to adapt to the chaotic human attacks, but their computer minds could not understand what they were seeing. How do you fight an enemy that has no pattern? How do you counter tactics that make no logical sense? Colonel Ryan Murphy led teams of human Marines who did something even more impossible. They boarded Hive ships while the battle was still going. Using small, fast transport craft, they landed on enemy vessels and fought the robots hand-to-hand in their own corridors. Boarding actions during space combat, Admiral Torkson whispered. That is insane. That is human, Walsh corrected. Him. The Marines moved through Hive ships like deadly shadows. The robots were designed to fight in space, not in close combat with beings who had been fighting and killing things their entire evolutionary history. Human reflexes, trained by millions of years on a death world, were faster than robot reaction times. Dr. Angela Foster worked with captured Hive technology in real time, finding weaknesses in their systems as the battle continued. Her insights were shared instantly with all human forces. Their adaptive algorithms are based on logical patterns, she reported to Morrison. But they cannot adapt to complete randomness. They keep trying to find patterns that do not exist. The turning point came when Lieutenant Commander Peter Hayes led his squadron on what everyone thought was a suicide mission. His 12 ships dove directly into the center of the Hive fleet, weaving between millions of enemy vessels. Hayes, what are you doing? Morrison asked over the radio. Something stupid, sir, Hayes replied cheerfully. But it might work. His squadron punched through 17 layers of Hive ships. Enemy fire filled space around them like deadly rain, but the human pilots flew through it like they were dancing. 3 ships were destroyed, but the remaining 9 reached their target. The human fleet did not return to Earth after defeating the Hive. Instead, Captain Morrison sent a message to the council that made everyone nervous. "We are going to clean up the mess," his calm voice said over the communication system. "The Hive took 17 star systems from you over the past 50 years. Time to take them back." Council Speaker Zixathera felt her tentacles curl with worry. "Captain Morrison, those systems are heavily defended. The Hive has had decades to build fortresses and factories there. It would take massive fleets years to recapture them." "Maybe for your fleets," Morrison replied. "We will be done in 6 weeks." The council members looked at each other in disbelief. Even Admiral Torkson, who had seen humans fight, shook his cat-like head. "Morrison, I respect what you did against the invasion fleet, but this is different. The Hive has turned those worlds into metal fortresses. Billions of robots guard every planet." "Sounds like fun," Lieutenant Walsh said over the radio. Her voice carried that strange human emotion that the council was learning to recognize: eagerness for violence. Dr. Brooks connected to the council's databases again, pulling up information about the occupied systems. Interesting defensive layouts. Very logical. Very predictable. Those defenses have held against every rescue attempt for 50 years, Commander Quendall pointed out. "Because everyone keeps trying to fight them head-on," Dr. Angela Foster said from her science ship. "Frontal assaults against prepared positions. That is exactly what the Hive expects." Captain Morrison's voice carried amusement. "Has anyone ever tried sneaking up on them?" The question hung in space like a challenge. The council species had always fought wars with honor, using proper formations and giving the enemy fair warning. The idea of sneaking attacks felt wrong to them. "Civilized beings do not use underhanded tactics," Ambassador Velthari said stiffly. "Good thing we are not civilized then," Morrison replied. The first liberated system was Kepler 442, a beautiful world that had been home to the peaceful Gardner people. The Hive had turned it into a factory planet, covering the surface with metal buildings that produced robot soldiers day and night. The Council's long-range sensors watched as the human fleet approached the system. But something strange happened. Instead of attacking, the humans scattered to the edges of the star system and seemed to disappear. "Where did they go?" Piptel asked, staring at the empty sensor screens. "I do not know," Zixathera admitted. "The sensors show nothing." For 3 days, nothing happened. The Hive garrison on Kepler 442 continued their normal routines. Factory ships flew back and forth. Guard patrols swept through space on schedule. Everything seemed normal. Then the attacks began. They started small. A Hive supply convoy would disappear between planets. A factory ship would explode without warning. Guard patrols would go out and never come back. Each incident happened far from the others with no pattern the Hive computers could understand. "They are picking them off one by one," Dr. Plixandra realized as she watched the reports, like hunters stalking prey. The Hive responded by increasing their patrols and adding more guards, but that just gave the humans more targets. Commander Lisa Torres led fighter squadrons that appeared out of asteroid belts to destroy entire convoys, then vanished before reinforcements arrived. "How do they hide so well?" Admiral Torkson wondered. "Our sensors should detect them." Dr. Foster's voice came over the communication channel. "We use the system's natural features as camouflage: asteroid fields, gas clouds, solar radiation, plus some tricks we learned fighting in Earth's oceans and jungles. The Hive tried to adapt by changing their patrol routes and schedules, but Colonel Ryan Murphy's Marines had already infiltrated their communication networks. Every change the robots made was known to the humans before it happened. "They are inside the Hive's own systems," Commander Quendall said with amazement, "fighting them with their own technology." The final assault on Kepler 442 lasted only 6 hours. Human ships appeared from every direction at once, striking targets that had been carefully selected over days of observation. The Hive's defenses, built to stop massive frontal attacks, crumbled against coordinated strikes on critical weak points. When the battle ended, the planet was free. The metal factories were destroyed, and the robot armies were scattered scrap. Most importantly, the 3 million Gardner people who had been kept as slaves were alive and safe. "Impossible," whispered Ambassador Velthari as she read the reports. They took a heavily defended world in 1 day. Actually, it took us 4 days, Captain Morrison corrected. 3 days of hunting, 1 day of killing. The second system fell even faster. The hive there had received warnings about human tactics and tried to prepare. They pulled all their ships into tight defensive formations around their key worlds. Lieutenant Commander Peter Hayes looked at the massed hive defenses and laughed. They are making it easier for us, all bunched up in one place. How is that easier? Asked Dr. Plixandra over the communication link. Because now we know exactly where they all are, Hayes replied. The humans attacked with weapons the Council had never seen before. Missiles that could change direction in flight, following targets through complex maneuvers. Fighter craft that split apart into smaller drones when fired upon, multiplying the number of attackers. Bombs that waited until they were deep inside enemy formations before exploding. These weapons are very advanced, Admiral Torkson observed. Why did you not use them against the invasion fleet? We did not need to, Walsh replied simply. Chaos worked fine against them, but fixed fortifications require different tools. The third system presented a new challenge. The Hive had learned from their defeats and scattered their forces across multiple planets and moons. Instead of big, obvious targets, they created hundreds of small, hidden bases. Dr. Brooks studied the defensive layout with interest. They are finally adapting, learning from their mistakes. Too bad they are 50 years too late, Morrison said. The humans responded by doing something that horrified every Council observer. They split their fleet into tiny groups, sometimes just 1 or 2 ships. These microfleets spread across the entire star system, hunting the hidden hive bases one by one. That is suicide, Admiral Torkson protested. If the hive finds any of those small groups, they will be destroyed. Maybe, Morrison agreed. But small groups are hard to find, and even harder to catch. What followed was the strangest military campaign in galactic history. Human ships played a deadly game of hide-and-seek with hive forces across an entire star system. Sometimes a hidden hive base would detect a human ship and send robots to destroy it, only to find that the ship was bait leading them into a trap set by other human vessels. Captain Rebecca Stone led one such trap. Her single ship pretended to be damaged and drifting near a hive asteroid base. When 50 enemy vessels came to investigate, they found themselves surrounded by human fighters that had been hiding in the asteroid field for hours. Patience, Stone explained to the amazed Council observers. On Earth, the best hunters wait for their prey to come to them. The campaign in the fourth system was even more brutal. The hive had enslaved the entire population of the water-world Aquatica Prime, using the fish-like natives as living computers to process information. The humans faced a terrible choice: attack and risk killing innocent civilians or leave them in slavery. Dr. Foster came up with a solution that showed the darker side of human creativity. Instead of attacking the slave processing centers directly, her teams infiltrated them with microscopic robots of their own. We are not going to free the slaves by blowing things up, she explained to Morrison. We are going to free them by making the hive's own systems turn against their masters. The microscopic human robots spread through the hive's networks like a plague, but instead of destroying equipment, they began changing programming. Guard robots started attacking each other. Factory computers began building defective weapons. Communication systems sent false orders to hive commanders. Within a week, the hive's control over Aquatica Prime collapsed into chaos. The enslaved population was freed without a single human ship firing a shot inside the system. Biological warfare, Admiral Torkson said with distaste, using disease as a weapon. Not disease, Dr. Foster corrected. Information warfare. We infected their computers with bad data, not their bodies with germs. Still underhanded, the Admiral muttered. Still effective, Walsh pointed out. By the fifth liberated system, the pattern was clear. The humans did not fight wars the way everyone else did. They did not line up their fleets and charge at the enemy. They did not follow rules of honor or give fair warning. They studied their targets, found weaknesses, and exploited those weaknesses with ruthless efficiency. They fight like apex predators, Dr. Plixandra observed during a council meeting. Patient, intelligent, and absolutely merciless. Is that bad? Piptel asked nervously. Not if they are on your side, Commander Quendall replied. The liberation of the remaining systems followed similar patterns. Each time, the Hive tried to adapt to human tactics. Each time, the humans found new ways to turn the Hive's strengths against them. Factory worlds were captured by infiltrating their supply chains. Fortress worlds fell when their own defensive systems were turned into weapons against them. The emergency council meeting was different from all the others. This time, no one was panicking about an outside threat. This time, they were all afraid of their rescuers. Council Speaker Zixathara looked around the room at the leaders of 40 different species. Every face showed the same emotion: fear. The humans had saved them all from the Hive, but now everyone was asking the same question. What did these Deathworlders want in return? They could have demanded anything after saving us, Ambassador Velthari said quietly. Tribute territory slaves. Instead, they asked for nothing. That makes them even more frightening, growled Admiral Torkson. His cat-like ears were flat against his head. Predators who kill without needing to eat are the most dangerous kind. Dr. Plixandra adjusted her many eyes nervously. I have been studying the battle reports from all 17 liberated systems. The humans did not just defeat the Hive, they completely outclassed them, made them look like children playing with toys. Commander Quendall's stone fingers drummed on the table. The Andromedans were the strongest military force in the galaxy. The humans destroyed them in 3 hours. The Hive was the most feared enemy in known space. The humans eliminated them in 6 weeks. What does that make the humans? The new apex predators, Zixthera said softly. The question is, what do apex predators do when they have no more threats to fight? Before anyone could answer, the conference room doors opened. Captain Morrison walked in with his usual calm smile, followed by Lieutenant Walsh and Dr. Brooks. They moved with the same quiet confidence they had always shown, but now everyone in the room understood what that confidence really meant. Sorry to interrupt, Morrison said politely. But we received your meeting request. You said you wanted to discuss our future relationship with the Council. Zixathara tried to keep her tentacles from shaking. Yes, Captain. Please sit down. We have much to talk about. Morrison sat in the chair across from her, completely relaxed. Walsh stood behind him, her pale blue eyes scanning the room like always. Brooks was already connecting his device to the Council's systems, downloading information at incredible speed. We want to thank you again for saving us from the Hive, Velthari began carefully. Your actions saved billions of lives across the galaxy. You are welcome, Morrison replied. Glad we could help. The Council has been discussing how to properly reward such heroic actions, Velthari continued. Perhaps territorial grants, or trade preferences, or a seat on the governing board. Dr. Brooks looked up from his device with amusement in his eyes. Ambassador, you are trying to figure out what we want from you. Well, yes. Every species wants something. Power, resources, recognition. It is only natural. Morrison leaned back, in his chair. What makes you think we want anything from the Council? The question hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Every Council member felt their hearts beating faster. If the humans did not want rewards or treaties or recognition, what did they want? Everyone wants something, Admiral Torkson said suspiciously. No one helps others for free. Maybe that is the difference between us and you, Walsh said quietly. Her voice was calm, but there was something cold underneath it. We help because we choose to help, not because we expect payment. Commander Quendall's stone face showed confusion. Then what do you want from this region of space? To be left alone to do our own thing, Morrison answered simply. We will establish colonies on uninhabited worlds. We will trade with anyone who wants to trade fairly. We will defend ourselves if attacked. Beyond that, we do not care what the rest of you do. And if the Council objects to human expansion? Velthari asked carefully. Morrison's smile became sharper. The Council is welcome to try stopping us, but remember how that worked out for the Andromedans. The room fell silent. Everyone remembered the 3-hour destruction of the galaxy's strongest fleet. Everyone remembered how easily the humans had crushed enemies that had terrorized space for centuries. Dr. Plixandra spoke up nervously. What if other species challenge human claims? There are many aggressive races in the galaxy who might test your strength. Brooks looked up from his device again. We studied your military databases while we were connected. Most species in this galaxy fight wars like sporting events. Rules, formations, honor codes, very predictable. Civilized warfare, Belthari said proudly. Inefficient warfare, Walsh corrected. We fight to win, not to look honorable. Anyone who wants to test that is welcome to try. Morrison stood up, slowly, and every being in the room tensed. Even standing still, he radiated the quiet confidence of something that had never been beaten. Let me make something clear, he said in his calm, friendly voice. Humans do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to conquer other species. We do not want to build an empire. We just want to live in peace and be left alone. And if someone does not leave you alone? Quendal asked. Morrison's eyes became cold as winter ice. Then they will learn why Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world, Piptel squeaked from his corner. What if multiple species band together against humans? Form an alliance? Alliances are fragile things, Brooks said while studying something on his device. They fall apart when members start dying in large numbers. Besides, we have been studying galactic politics. Most of you can barely agree on lunch menus, let alone military strategy. The Terran Defense Fleet currently has about 12,000 ships, Walsh added casually. But our shipyards are expanding rapidly. Earth has 4 billion people, and all of them grow up learning to fight and survive. We can build more ships and train more crews faster than anyone else can organize resistance. The numbers hit the council like a physical blow. 12,000 ships was already larger than most species' entire fleets. And if humans could expand that number quickly, 4 billion people, whispered Dr. Plixandra. All trained as warriors? Not warriors, Morrison corrected. Survivors. There is a difference. Warriors fight because they choose to. Survivors fight because they have to. Survivors are much more dangerous. Admiral Torkson's tail lashed nervously. What about other human colonies? Are there more fleets like yours? Brooks smiled at something on his screen. Earth is just one human world, Admiral. We have been spreading across space for over 200 years. There are human colonies in 17 different galaxies now. The room went completely silent. 17 galaxies. Not 17 systems or 17 sectors. 17 entire galaxies full of Deathworld humans with technology that made the hive look primitive. Zixthara felt her tentacles go numb. 17 galaxies? Humans spread out. When we get crowded, Morrison explained casually. Too many people in one place leads to competition for resources. Competition leads to conflict. It is easier to just find new places to live. How many humans are there total? Belthari asked in a whisper. About 4 trillion last count, Brooks replied without looking up. Give or take a few billion. We do not keep exact records once colonies become independent. 4 trillion humans, each one raised on worlds that would kill most galactic species just by existing. Each one trained, from birth to survive and fight and win against impossible odds. The galaxy just became a very different place, Commander Quendal said slowly. Not really, Morrison disagreed. Humans have been in this galaxy for 50 years. We just stayed quiet and minded our own business. The only thing that changed is now you know we are here. He moved toward the door with Walsh and Brooks following. We will be establishing colonies in this sector over the next few months. Anyone who wants to trade with us is welcome. Anyone who wants to be our friend is welcome. Anyone who wants to fight us. He paused and looked back with that predator's smile. Well, ask the Andromedans how that worked out. Oh wait, you cannot. They are all dead. After the humans left, the council sat in stunned silence for a long time. Finally, Piptel spoke up in his tiny voice. "Speaker, what do we do now?" Zixthara looked around at the frightened faces of the galaxy's leaders. These beings had ruled space for thousands of years, had built mighty civilizations, had thought themselves the masters of the universe. Now they all understood the truth. They had been living in a nature preserve, protected by predators so powerful that even the hive had been nothing more than a minor pest problem. "We adapt," she said quietly. "We learn to live in a galaxy where humans are the apex predators. We be polite, we be respectful, and we never ever give them a reason to see us as a threat. And if someone else attacks them," Admiral Torkson asked, "then we stay very far away and hope the humans do not notice us while they are busy destroying whoever was stupid enough to wake the Deathworlders." Outside the station, human ships prepared to jump to hyperspace. Captain Morrison looked at the readings on his command screen and spoke to his crew. "Set course for the Kepler colonies. Time to start building some new homes." "Sir," his communications officer said, "what if the Council tries to interfere with our expansion?" Morrison looked out at the stars and smiled. "They won not. They are smart enough to recognize apex predators when they see them." As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, every species in the galaxy began the same conversation. "How do you live? In peace with beings who could destroy your entire civilization before lunch and still have time for afternoon coffee?"